Hello, hi, welcome. This is my channel, Wandering with Jeannie, where we explore all the ways that you can discover your best life and put the pieces of your life puzzle together. And today we're going to be talking about the first step towards turning this year into the best year of your life. The year where you follow your passions, pay down your debts, get in shape, and generally do all the things that you set your mind to. So let's get started. Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, then you might end up someplace else. And what that means is you need to have some kind of an idea about where you're trying to get to, what your vision is as you move forwards through life. And so that's what we're going to be building today, is a clear set of goals to help guide you through the next 12 months. And while it's tempting to just jump into goal setting, we're going to hold off on that for just a minute, and we're going to figure out what our vision is for the next year. And the reason we start with like a high level vision for the year is because we want our goals to support our overall vision of how we want our life to look by the end of 2024. And if you jump right into goal setting, you risk working on goals that don't actually move you towards the life that you want to live. So for example, let's say that one of your goals is that you want to get up at 5:30 a.m. every morning and have an awesome morning routine, and you plan it all out. And then let's say you have another goal where you want to get a second job so you can pay off your credit card debt, and you get a job as a bartender. So you're all set. You're going to start on this awesome journey of achieving all of your goals. And you work your shift as a bartender and you get home at 3 a.m. and then your alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. and you have to start your morning routine, and you've only had like 2.5 hours of sleep. So how long do you think you're going to be able to keep that up? Most of us, not very long. 2.5 hours is not going to be enough sleep every night. So that's an example of when you have two good goals, but they don't support your overall vision of what you want your life to look like. So let's say you do have a vision, and your vision is that you want to have an awesome morning routine and make extra money to pay off your credit card debt. Good things. So you look at this and you decide that yes, you want to get up at 5:30 every morning and have an awesome morning routine, and that you are going to work as a barista at a local cafe for a couple of hours, or you are going to work on writing your novel or starting a YouTube channel, or any of these things where it's going to be part of your morning routine, but they're all going to work together to move you towards the life you want to live. Now you know why having a vision and mission, and we'll get into mission in a little bit, is so important, so that everything works cohesively together. Let's start with, what is a vision? So a vision is an ideal way of what you want your life to look like. So you can have a vision for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, for the season. You can have a vision that's 2 years down the road, or 5 or 10, or whole life long vision of what you want your life to look like. The time horizon can be whatever you want. For our purposes, we're going to be looking at about 12 months. I am filming this at the end of January, so when I'm talking about having things done by the end of 2024, that's going to be December 2024. It's actually only about 11 months at this point in time, but the principle holds, and you can take this and you can use it every single year moving forward throughout your life. You'll see how impactful it is and how much of a difference it makes, and you're going to keep using this particular strategy over and over and over again. Another super important thing to know about visions and your life is they change. As your life changes, your vision is going to change, and that is totally normal. Think about like when you were a kid and you thought, you know what, I want to be a firefighter when I grow up. And that's super cool. Being a firefighter is super cool. No doubt about it. However, maybe then you got into like high school or college and you were like, you know what, I want to be an engineer. So now your vision of what you wanted your life to look like was, I'm going to be an engineer. And then you started taking some engineering classes and you were like, you know what, I kind of suck at math. And then you were like, maybe I want to be a professional chef, or I want to go into theater, or whatever else you went. So like your vision changed again, and that's just in the realm of work. So there can be lots of reasons and lots of other ways where your vision for your life might change. Maybe you thought you were going to meet like a tall, dark, and handsome stranger, and you were going to have one kid, and you were going to like live in New York City, and then you met the love of your life, except this person is like the tiniest little barrel of blonde fun whose eyes light up every time they see you. And you're like, well, I guess my vision changed again. And then maybe you get pregnant and you're like, okay, we're going to have one kid. And then you find out you're pregnant with triplets. Ta-da! Your vision for your life changed again. So sometimes you change your vision as you realize more things about yourself. And sometimes life happens and you adjust your vision based on your current reality. It's all normal. It happens to everybody. But the point of this exercise is to have some kind of a vision of what you think you want things to look like down the road so that you know what you're working towards. Got it? All right. Also, if you haven't already, check out my previous video where we talked our way through doing a really, really good year-end review. That's super important as far as figuring out what you want to do this year. It's also, we're going to circle back to that as we're working through some of our goal setting. So if you haven't already, I'll put a link in the description box below for my video on doing a year-end review. And remember, if you like this content, give it the old thumbs up, subscribe. That's really helpful to me to know what you guys want to see more of. Starting where your review left off, assuming we've all done the review already, and if you haven't, you'll get to it. I believe in you. Don't worry about it. So feel free to pause the video as I ask these questions and write down your answers. So keep in mind, I do have a blog post about this, so I'll put that link in the description box as well. If you like to see them all written out as far as like figuring out how you want to answer things, it's whatever works for you. I'm trying to hit like all the learning styles people, so let me know. As I said, these are the questions that will help you. We're just gonna like brainstorm, like we're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's a lot of like just spitballing whatever answers come into your brain. Write that down. We'll go through a process. We'll winnow it down. You know, we'll get what we really want later. This is just generating ideas. Okay. First question: what helps you feel energized? That when you do them, you end up with more energy than you started with. Are you excited to do? And this can be activities. This can be people that you get to see, places you go, hobbies, anything at all. But just see, when I ask that question, what makes you feel energized? What gives you energy? What kind of ideas pop into your head? And write those down. Next question: what brings purpose and meaning to your life? And if you're like, I don't know, that's okay. A lot of people don't know what gives them purpose or meaning. You'll get there, okay? So if any of these questions, I say them and you're like, it doesn't make any sense, I don't know what you're talking about, don't worry about it. Skip it. You can always come back later. The internet is forever, right? You can always come back later. Next question: what would you do if you knew you could not fail? There were going to be no roadblocks. Nothing was going to get in your way. Everything was going to be smooth sailing, easy peasy. What would you do? Cool, right? And the next question is kind of related to that. What would you do if you had unlimited funds? So imagine that Nigerian prince uncle that you never knew you had died and for reals left you like $1 bazillion and you were never going to have to worry about money again. How would you spend your time? Would you keep going to work the same place you're working now? Would you pick up more hobbies? Like, just the world is your oyster. What would you do? Would you give Elon Musk the run for his money and build your own starship company? What is it? Write it down. Okay, next question. Who do you want to become? So your year-end review should have given you some ideas about who you are now. Who do you want to become? Who do you feel like is emerging in your life? If your life had no limits, if your trauma never happened, who would you be? And then who do you want to be? What kind of a person? What do they do for work? What do they wear? Who are their friends? Where do they hang out? Go into as much detail as you want. As far as answering this question, you can draw a picture. If you're gifted with drawing, go ahead and like draw a picture of what your life would look like. This is also where a lot of times people like to do vision boards. So if that's something that you're inclined to do, go ahead and put together a vision board of like what your dream life would look like. And if you're not familiar with the concept of vision boards, I'm going to say go ahead and Google it because there are a ton of places where you can get that information. I'm not going to belabor the point right here. Our next question is, what skill or hobby would you like to learn? Are you like, I've always wanted to do improv, or I want to learn how to play the flute or speak French fluently. Like, I want to take up karate. Like, what, if you could do whatever you wanted, like what hobbies do you want to pick up? Where do you want to be in a year? Like literally, physically, where do you want to be in a year? Where do you want your body to be? Where do you work? Where do you live? Where do you hang out? Where do you travel? Where do you go on vacation? Like, where do you want to be in a year? What habits do you want to create or cut out? So life is about change, right? And we all have things that we could do better, and a lot of them are things that we kind of do habitually. So maybe you have some habits you want to keep, and then maybe you also have some habits that you want to replace, because the reality is we only have 24 hours in a day, and right now you already have those 24 hours filled with something. Is your 24 hours filled with the things you want it to be filled with? It's a pretty cool question. How can you make your environment reflect who you're becoming instead of who you were? Like, the reality is that your environment reflects the choices that you've made, the person that you have been to this point. If you want to change your life, one of the things you can do to support that is change your environment. And yes, sometimes this means things that cost money. It might mean moving to a better apartment. It might mean redecorating. There are things that it could totally mean as far as like spending money on, but it doesn't have to. Maybe it just means cleaning up where you are now. Maybe it means rearranging the furniture so that when you are doing your work, you have some natural light you can see out of a window. There's a lot of different ways that you can change your environment to reflect who you want to be rather than who you have been so far. The last question here as far as visions is, what are your top 5-ish motivations? So what gets you moving? Is it guilt? Is it a desire to make the world a better place? Is it money? Is it winning? It can be like, what motivates you? I don't know. You have to write it down. So based on these answers, and again, these are all brainstorming big, lots of answers, figure out a vision that makes sense for you of what you want your life to look like, how you want to feel, and what goals you want to accomplish by the end of the year. Now that you have that vision in your mind, decide on a mission or missions, because sometimes you have multiple missions. And a mission, just so you know, a mission is bigger than a goal. A mission is more all-encompassing, and it describes what your purpose is, how you're going to do it, and why. So you can have a mission for each corner of your life puzzle. And if you don't know what your life puzzle is, I will drop a link for that in the description box below as well. I've done a video on my theory of how life is a puzzle, and we're kind of all constantly trying to put the pieces together. So for example, your physical wellness mission might be to get in the best shape of your life by working out consistently so you can compete in an Ironman with your friends. So that's more than one goal. It's got a lot going on there. There's a purpose, there's a reason why, there's how you're gonna do it. So your missions are like these, they're between your vision for your whole life and the individual goals that we're gonna be setting here in a minute. So next up is your values. And again, this is one of those points that I'm not going to go super deep on right here because there's other places where you can honestly get better information. But values are your guideposts. They're kind of how you think of yourself. They're what your non-negotiables are. And you can take an online quiz. You can a list of personal values and pick out the ones that kind of seem like they resonate the most with you. Things like being trustworthy, being clean, being helpful. So whenever something comes up in your life and you're like, I don't really know what I want to do, you'd be like, oh wait, I'm the kind of person who's trustworthy. I'm the kind of person who's helpful. And that will kind of point you in the direction that you should be going so that you're living according to your values. So at this point, you should have a pretty clear view of what you want your life to look like by the end of the year. Now, finally, we're gonna set some goals. Now, make sure you're setting SMART goals. Hopefully you already know what a SMART goal is. SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable. The A can be attainable or actionable. It depends on who you ask. Realistic, and then time-bound or timely. Again, it depends on who you ask, and you can adjust it based on kind of how you're writing your goal out. So again, this is one of those things that I'm not going to go super in depth as far as like what a SMART goal is or how you should write one. There are plenty of other resources for that out there on the internet. Google is your friend. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, SMART goal. You will find out everything you could possibly want to know about writing a SMART goal. And however many you want, write all the SMART goals you want, write however many it makes sense that will be supporting you working towards attaining your vision by the end of the year. So if you're on a roll and you're an overachiever, because I know some of us are type A people, that's what we do, go ahead and do yourself a bucket list for the year. So a bucket list, typically when people talk about a bucket list, they're talking about a lifetime bucket list, which is the list of things that they want to do before they kick the bucket. An annual or a year-long bucket list, these are things you would just really like to do this year so that you can have your best year ever. And these can be things like going hiking on a new trail, going to some more outdoor festivals, shopping at the farmer's market, seeing the new action movie that's coming out in the theater because it's such an awesome experience. These are just things, going sledding the next time it snows. These are things that are specific to you that you're like, you know what, if I did this one thing there and this one thing here, I would have like the most awesome year ever. So they're not big goals. They're just sort of one-offs that if at the end of the year you could be like, these are the things I did, then you would be like, I had a cool year. Now that you've got these lists, you've got your bucket list for the year, you've got your SMART goals, I'm gonna tell you a secret. Closer. Okay. Your goals are actually projects. I know, right? I heard this recently and I was like, what? Think about all the times you've had a goal, and a goal is very much an end point, right? There's not necessarily a path between where you are now and that goal. You just know you want to get there. However, a project has that end point and it has all the steps from where you are now to get to that end point. This, like I said, this just blew my mind when I heard this recently, and I was like, duh, of course. If you turn your goal into a project, it makes sense that then you're finally going to do all the things you need to do to accomplish your goal. What I want you to do now, take that list of SMART goals, and for every single one, give it a deadline or a due date. Maybe a lot of these are going to be the end of the year, because we're talking about like doing annual planning and things that you want to have accomplished by the end of the year. But maybe some of them have shorter time horizons. Okay, so maybe you want to run a marathon and the marathon is on September 15th. Well, guess what? The due date for running the marathon is September 15th. If you can run that marathon on December 31st, coolio, like good for you, but you're not going to be ready to run the marathon on September 15th. Think about it, decide where you want all of these deadlines to go in your year. Put them on your calendar, whatever calendar you use, put them on your calendar. If you use Google Calendar or an electronic calendar, if you use a paper calendar, on each of those due dates, right, this is what it's going to be. This is when the project's going to be finished. So there are 2 steps left. The second to last step is for each of these projects, plan out what the very first 1 to 3 steps are going to be. And I mean baby steps, like teeny tiny little baby learning how to walk steps. So for example, like goal is to clean up your house, and you're like, well, I'm going to start with my room. Your first step is not clean my room, because chances are there's a bunch of things that you need to do to clean your room. Your first step might be pick up all the trash and put it in the trash can. Maybe your first step is not going to be do my laundry. Your first step is going to be get all of the dirty laundry into the hamper. Like very, very tiny. That's what I'm talking about. Literally the first task that you would need to do to work towards accomplishing this goal. Write that down so you know where you're going to start. And however it makes sense to you, 1 to 3 of these little baby first steps for each of your projects. And then, so the last step here, and this one is going to rely pretty heavily on your year-end review. So hopefully you did that. If you didn't, you're going to want to do some kind of a year-end review here. Because what I want you to do, look at last year, what got in your way? What kind of things did, what projects failed? What did you try and it didn't work out the way you wanted it to? Look at what were your roadblocks? What things kept coming up? What kind of hiccups did you run into? Were you too tired to go to the gym? Do you need to go to bed earlier? Like that would be a way to overcome that. Did you not have time to write your novel or practice the drums? So maybe you need to turn parental controls on your phone and limit your screen time or limit your scrolling. Did you miss out on a vacation because you didn't have enough money saved up? So maybe you need a savings plan. Did you not have enough money because you had like surprise expenses come up and you didn't have an emergency fund? So maybe you need a budget. I know this isn't the sexiest part of the process, but it is one of the most essential, because I guarantee for every single goal you set yourself, something's gonna happen that's gonna like throw you off track. And the more of those things that you can anticipate and be like, when the dog throws up on the carpet, this is how I'm gonna handle it. It will help keep you moving towards your goals, because you won't get sidetracked, you won't get derailed whenever something pops up. That was a lot. You made it to the end. YouTube loves it when you do that. It really helps the algorithm learn what kind of things people like, and it helps it push this video out to other cool people like you. Really benefit from seeing this content. I'm really looking forward to building a vibrant community here. Thanks for watching. If you have a great vision, a mission, a set of goals, remember, they're actually projects, that will take your life to the next level in 2024. What did you learn? What are you gonna try? Drop that stuff in the comments below. Don't forget, click like, subscribe if you haven't already, so you know when I release new videos. And thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. I'll see you next time.